I sit in my room, the warm glow of the laptop screen casting shadows on my face, my fingers hovering over the keys. There's a flight I've been planning to book for weeks now, a trip that would take me away from the same old routine, a rare opportunity to live for myself. The cursor blinks back at me, urging me to finalize the booking. It's the perfect getaway, a few days to recharge and be alone. But just as I'm about to click the button, the familiar sound of my phone ringing cuts through the stillness. It's her. I sigh and pick it up, knowing exactly what's coming. Her voice immediately fills the line, sharp and demanding. Arden, I need you to drive the 48 guests home after the party. It's your duty. We can't do it without you. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Duty. A word that has shaped my entire existence, always looming, always expected. She doesn't ask if I have plans. She doesn't care. I'm not allowed to have plans. Family comes first. Her voice doesn't leave room for a response, but I try anyway. I had plans tonight, I murmur, my voice weak. She doesn't even skip a beat. Forget your plans. You'll be needed. It's not about you, Arden. It's about the family. The words feel cold, like a chain being wrapped around my wrist. She's not asking, she's telling. My plans are irrelevant. And that's when she says it, the sentence that pulls me under. Grandma would be disappointed if you weren't there. That does it. The guilt settles in like an anchor, dragging me deeper. Grandma's been gone for years, but her memory has always been a weapon in my mother's hands, used to silence me, to make me feel small. I stare at the screen, the cursor blinking mockingly at me. I could still go. I could still book the flight and be free. But the guilt is suffocating now, and I know I won't do it. My fingers tremble as I move the mouse and cancel the booking. Fine, I say, my voice barely a whisper, but loud enough for her to hear. I'll be there. The line goes silent for a moment, then her voice softens, satisfaction lacing her words. Thank you. I knew I could count on you. I hang up, the weight of her approval hanging over me like a cloud. I've done this to myself again. I've let her take my life away, piece by piece, every time she called on me. I sit there, the phone in my hand, my eyes burning with unshed tears. I want to be angry. I want to scream. But I know it won't change anything. She's the same as always, and I'm the same as always, the dutiful daughter who never gets a say in her own life. I set the phone down on my desk, my heart heavy. The guilt is overwhelming, but the sadness follows closely behind. I can't remember the last time I did something for myself without feeling like I was betraying someone. It's not even just about the party tonight, it's everything. I've spent my whole life being the one who gives, the one who sacrifices. But where does it get me? Where do I go when I've given all I have, and I still feel invisible? I stand up, the room spinning slightly. I look at the family photo on the wall, a smiling picture of a perfect family. A family that never saw me, never truly cared. I've always been the one left out. I walk over to the closet, pulling out the dress I planned to wear to the party. It's a simple, modest thing, just enough to blend in. No one at this event wants me to stand out. No one ever has. I slip it on, and it feels like another layer of armor, another shield between who I am and who they want me to be. I look in the mirror, the reflection staring back at me like a stranger. The resentment is bubbling up, but I bury it deep. It's easier to keep it hidden. I'll do what I've always done, keep my mouth shut, smile, and play the part. But this time, it's different. I can feel it. This time, something has changed inside me. I take one last look in the mirror, the thought burning through my mind, this is the last time. I don't know if I'll ever be able to break free from their expectations. But I know that tonight, I'm doing it for me. They want me there? Fine. I'll be there. But I won't be a part of their game anymore. I grab my keys, my hand shaking as I grip them tightly. I'm already feeling the weight of tonight pressing down on me, but I don't have a choice. I'll drive them home. I'll do what I've always done. But this is the last time. The car hums beneath me as I pull out of the driveway. My thoughts are a blur of anger, guilt, and frustration, all swirling together like a storm I can't control. As I drive toward the party, I think about all the years I've spent sacrificing myself, always putting their needs above my own. It's like I've been living in their shadow, expected to be the one who cleans up, the one who takes care of everyone else, while my own life slips further away. But tonight, I'm making a vow to myself. This is it. No more. Next time, I'm fighting for me. I push the gas pedal harder, the road stretching out before me, a metaphor for the life I wish I could have. The one I've never had the courage to live. As I pull up to the event, the familiar sight of the house looms before me. The lights shine brightly through the windows, and I know what's waiting for me inside. The chaotic, demanding family. The endless tasks. The ever-present feeling of being invisible. I take a deep breath, and for the first time tonight, I feel something other than frustration. There's a quiet resolve building inside me, something that's been dormant for years. I step out of the car and look up at the house. They'll get what they want. I'm here, like always. But this time, I'm doing it for me. I walk toward the door, but as my hand touches the knob, I hear my mother's voice in my head, and something inside me snaps. This is the last time. The screen flickers to life, and the email icon catches my eye. I know who it's from before I even click on it. His name is at the top, my father. Another task. Another duty. I open it. The words are blunt, cold. A list of things I'm expected to do for the family party, nothing more. No thank you, no I appreciate your help, just a list of instructions, as if I'm a hired hand instead of his daughter. This is just your role. Do it. I read the sentence again, the emptiness of it sinking in. I feel like a cog in a machine, nothing more than a tool for their convenience. His words don't even acknowledge me as a person. I'm nothing. Invisible. I exhale slowly, the frustration building in my chest. Why should this surprise me? It's been this way for years. Every family event, every holiday, every celebration is the same. I'm always the one who takes care of things. Always the one who's left to clean up, to drive, to manage everything. I let out a bitter laugh, but it's short and hollow. Maybe this is what I am to them, just the helper. The one who doesn't need to be thanked. The one who doesn't have a choice. For a moment, I hover over the keyboard, my fingers itching to type a response. A message that would let him know just how much this hurts. Just how tired I am of being used like this. But instead of typing anything, I delete. The words feel like they would just float into an empty abyss, unheard, unnoticed. I try again, thinking maybe something different would come out. Maybe something stronger. But nothing does. The keys feel heavy under my fingers, as if they can sense my weariness. I stop. I already know what I have to do. I type, I'll do it. Simple. Short. To the point. The words feel like a resignation, a surrender. No fight. No question. Just the same old pattern. I press send. The silence that follows is suffocating. No acknowledgement. No response. The message is enough. It doesn't need anything more. I stare at the screen, my stomach turning. I want to scream. I want to tear the screen off the desk and throw it across the room. I want to tell him what I've been feeling for years, but I know it won't matter. He won't care. He never has. I can't do this anymore. But even as the thought forms, I know I will. I always do. I stand up, my legs unsteady. The anger is bubbling, but it's not enough. Not enough to make me walk away. Not enough to stop the cycle that's been going on for so long. I pick up my phone. It's another message from him. Don't disappoint your mother. I close my eyes for a moment, trying to push down the wave of frustration that threatens to overwhelm me. But it doesn't work. It never does. I read the message again. This time, the words don't have the same weight they once did. They don't carry the same power. I'm tired of being the one who always disappoints herself to meet their expectations. Tired of being the one who always puts everyone else first. I press the home button, turning off my phone. I look at the clock, just over an hour until I need to leave. I've done this for years. I've always played the role. But tonight, something is different. I don't know what it is, but I feel it, like a flicker of light in the dark. I get up and walk around the house. It's strange, but it feels different today. The same walls. The same furniture. The same kitchen with the same faded curtains. But today, they feel like a cage. I stand in front of a family photo on the wall. There we all are, smiling, perfect. But I don't see myself in the picture. Not really. I'm just another face in the background, another part of the scenery, another tool in the machine. I've given them everything. And for what? My heart aches as I stand there, looking at the photo. I wonder if they even notice me. Not really. They never have. I've always been the last one to be noticed, I whisper, my voice barely audible. I feel something deep inside me, something that's been building up for years, rise to the surface. It's anger. It's frustration. But it's also something more. A quiet determination. I can't keep living like this. Not anymore. I walk to my closet and grab a jacket, slipping it on quickly. I look in the mirror, seeing the reflection of someone who's so tired of being invisible. But I know I can't change it yet. Not fully. I grab my keys and head out the door. But as I get in the car, something shifts. It's subtle. Almost imperceptible. Maybe it's time to stop playing the part they've given me. Maybe it's time to stop letting them decide my life for me. As I pull out of the driveway, the anger is still there, but it's mixed with something else now, something stronger. Maybe I don't have to follow their rules anymore. I look out at the road ahead, a quiet resolve building inside me. I don't know what comes next. But tonight, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to stop being silent. The thought feels like a weight lifting from my shoulders. I grip the steering wheel, my hands steady now. This is the last time. I sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the envelope in my hands. It's thick, embossed with elegant gold lettering, the kind of invitation you expect for a big event. The kind of invitation I never get. The kind of invitation that should have my name on it. But it doesn't. The moment I pull the card from its sleeve, my heart drops. The words are crisp, formal. My family's anniversary party, a grand event, is just around the corner, and I've been invited. But there's no mention of me. No name. I read it again, hoping I missed something, hoping maybe I'm wrong. But no. Nothing. Just a list of names, everyone else, every single person except for me. It stings. It stings more than I want to admit. I know what this is. It's not even a mistake. It's not even an accident. This was intentional. I sit back against the bed, the invitation still in my hands, but it feels more like a slap than an invite. I try to shake it off. Maybe it's nothing, maybe they just overlooked me, but deep down I know it's more than that. This isn't the first time I've been left out. This isn't the first time I've been pushed aside. I clutch the invitation tighter, my knuckles turning white, and as the frustration builds, I feel the tightness in my chest. Not even an afterthought, I mutter under my breath, just an obligation. I stare at the name cards again. Everyone else is included. My name? Nowhere to be found. After a long pause, I get up and walk out of my room, the invitation still in my hand. I walk down the hall to my aunt's room. She's always been a more empathetic presence in the family, at least someone I thought would understand. Maybe she'd know why I've been excluded. Maybe she'd be the one to tell me I'm just overreacting. I don't even knock. I just walk in. "What's up, Arden?" She looks up from her chair, her eyes glinting in the sunlight. I got the invite for the anniversary," I say, voice shaking slightly as I hand her the card. "But look." She takes the card, examines it for a second, then hands it back to me, brushing it off like it's nothing. "It's probably just a mistake. Don't make a big deal out of it," she says with a shrug, clearly not understanding the weight of what I'm holding in my hands. I shake my head, staring at the card once more. "It's not a mistake," I say quietly, though my words feel hollow in the air. "It's deliberate. I'm not even on the list." "It's just a party, Arden," she says, trying to comfort me in her usual way. "But it doesn't reach me. It's not that important." I clench my jaw, biting back the wave of anger building up inside me. "But it is," I whisper, more to myself than to her. "It's always been important to me." She doesn't hear it. She doesn't understand. It's not her fault, but it doesn't change the fact that she doesn't get it. She's always been the good daughter, the one who blends in with the family, who never questions the norms. I turn away from her, holding the invitation tightly in my hands. There's no point in continuing this conversation. She doesn't care enough to fight for me. And I'm too tired to keep asking. I go back to my room, trying to keep the rising tide of emotion in check. I need to confront my mother. I need to know why this keeps happening. Why am I always the one who gets pushed aside? Minutes pass before I finally pick up the phone. My thumb hovers over the screen for a long while. I don't know what to say. What's the point? But I call anyway. "Mom," I begin, trying to keep my voice even, calm. "I got the invitation for the anniversary party. But my name's not on it." A silence stretches between us. Then, finally, her voice breaks through the stillness. "Arden, it's not intentional. Don't make a fuss about it." I freeze. I can feel the heat of frustration rising inside me, but I try to keep it down, try to swallow the anger that's bubbling to the surface. "It's just a party," she continues, her tone dismissive. "You've always been the one to avoid those kinds of things anyway." I feel the words sting more than I expect. "You don't get it, do you?" I whisper, but she doesn't hear me. Or maybe she just doesn't care enough to listen. I don't know why you're upset, she says, almost irritated. It's not a big deal. Just come when you're ready. I hang up, not saying another word. My heart is heavy, my chest tight with the frustration I can't release. For a moment, I just stand there, staring at the phone in my hand, the coldness of the conversation sinking in. I'm nothing to her. Not really. I drop the phone onto the bed and walk around the room, pacing. My life has been a series of these moments, these little cuts that I can't seem to avoid. Every birthday, every anniversary, every holiday, it's always the same. I'm not included. I'm never a part of it. I'm just the helper. The one who doesn't matter enough to be noticed. The realization hits me like a weight. I've spent so many years accepting this. Letting them decide who I am, letting them tell me what my worth is. But not anymore. I stand in front of the mirror, looking at my reflection. The girl in the glass is someone I hardly recognize anymore. She's someone who's always sacrificed. Always given. Always hoped for something in return that was never going to come. Well, I say to myself quietly, they don't get to decide my worth anymore. I grab my jacket from the chair and put it on. I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet, but I know this is the last time I let them control me. I walk to the door, keys in hand. As I step outside, the weight of the decision presses down on me. But there's something else too. Something lighter. A quiet resolve, like a spark starting to grow. Before I get into the car, I pause. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out, checking the message. It's from Lonnie. I got your back, Arden. Let me know if you need a way out. For the first time, I feel like maybe, just maybe, there's someone on my side. And that's enough. I sit on my bed, surrounded by boxes of old memories. The air in my room feels heavy, filled with the quiet hum of a day that should have been different, a day I thought would be mine. Instead, it's another day spent in the background, another day I try to forget what it means to be invisible. I pull open an old photo album, flipping through the pages slowly. There's a picture of me as a child, smiling in front of the house, my parents' arms around me, but I know better than to think this was a happy moment. Behind the smile was a lifetime of being overlooked, ignored, and sidelined in a family that never saw me for who I was. As my fingers trace the edges of the photos, another memory rises to the surface, one I've tried so hard to bury. I was just 7 years old, crouching in the dark storage room in the basement, tears streaming down my face. I was crying out for attention, for someone, anyone, to come find me. But the only thing I heard was the echo of my own sobs, no footsteps, no response. And then I heard her, the sound of my mother's shoes tapping against the floor as she walked past the door. She didn't even look inside. She didn't even call my name. I wasn't the daughter they wanted. I was just someone to clean up after their mess. The memory cuts deep, more painful than I want to admit. I stare at the picture again. In that photo, I'm standing at the far edge, like an afterthought. A child trying to fit in a family that never made room for me. I squeeze my eyes shut, forcing the tears back, but the sadness doesn't go away. It never has. I leave the album on the bed and walk to the window, staring out at the world that keeps moving while I feel stuck in this moment. The feelings of neglect, of being nothing more than a background character in my own life, they've always been there. Always hovering, like a shadow. But now, they're too loud to ignore. I try to push the thoughts away, but they flood my mind. How many times was I left out, forgotten? How many times did I wait for someone to see me, to acknowledge me, only to be told I was too much or too little, that my needs were secondary to the family's demands. I think about my mother. My whole life, I've waited for her to love me. I've waited for her to see me. But now, as I look back, I see the truth I've been avoiding for so long. I loved her, but she never loved me back in the way I needed. Not truly. Not in the way a daughter needs a mother to love her. I walk to the mirror, my reflection staring back at me. The person I see is someone I don't recognize, someone who's been hiding for so long. I've spent so many years keeping quiet, keeping my head down, trying to make myself small enough to fit in. Trying to make them notice me. But that's not me. Not anymore. I stand taller now, staring at my own eyes. They're tired, worn from the years of being ignored. But underneath, there's something else. A fire. A growing strength that's been there all along, waiting for the moment to surface. I take a deep breath and let it out slowly. I don't need her approval anymore, I say to my reflection. I need my own. The decision settles in. I've been waiting for someone else to validate me, to give me the love I've been yearning for. But that's never going to happen. I have to love myself first. I have to stop waiting for their recognition and start recognizing my own worth. I walk out of my room, feeling a sense of resolve I've never had before. I grab my bag and head toward the door. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I know this, I'm done. I'm done letting them decide who I am. The weight of leaving feels heavy, but there's also relief, like I'm taking the first step towards something better. I open the front door, the sound of it creaking as I step outside. For a moment, I pause, breathing in the cool air, feeling the freedom of a life not dictated by anyone else. As I walk toward my car, I pull out my phone. A text message from Lonnie lights up the screen. I got your back, Arden. You're not alone in this. There's a place for you to be who you really are. I smile, the knot in my chest loosening. For the first time, I feel like I'm not invisible. I hit send, replying, thank you. I think I'm ready. And with that, I get in my car. The door slams shut behind me, but it feels different this time. It's not just the door to the car. It's the door to my old life, closing. The one I'm leaving behind. I drive off, but not toward the party. I'm driving toward something new. Toward me. The kitchen is empty, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the quiet shuffle of my feet on the tiled floor. I enter cautiously, my eyes scanning the room, searching for something familiar. I should be focused on the task at hand, preparing myself for the next chapter of this family circus, but something catches my eye. A slideshow of the event. And there it is. The dish I created, the one I spent countless hours perfecting, proudly displayed, with Ramsay's name under it. I freeze. The image before me feels like a slap to the face. The dish isn't mine anymore, it's his. The years of work, the time I spent perfecting every detail, it means nothing now. In a single stroke, my contribution has been erased. I stand there, staring at the screen, trying to convince myself that I'm imagining it. But no. It's clear. The dish is displayed like a trophy, credited to someone else. They can steal my recipe, but they'll never steal the essence of what I created. I pull out my phone, quietly snapping a picture of the screen, as if to capture the betrayal in some tangible way. It's proof. I need something to hold on to. I need to remember this moment, the exact moment when I realized that my worth had been reduced to a shadow of someone else's light. I exhale sharply and walk out of the kitchen, my fists clenched. My mind races, a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. But I don't say a word. Not yet. I know that silence can be as powerful as any words I could say. Silence will be my weapon. Later, during the event, the silence continues to echo in my mind. As I walk through the crowd, trying to keep a low profile, I overhear a guest speaking enthusiastically. "Ramsey, you've really outdone yourself with this one." The words hit me like a punch in the gut. I'm standing just a few feet away, my presence unnoticed, my contribution dismissed. I don't react. I don't even flinch. The silence is a shield, and I will not let them see how deeply it stings. I walk away from the conversation, my back straight, my composure intact. But inside, the rage burns. They don't even know who I am. To them, I'm invisible. But invisibility can be a form of power, too. I keep walking, letting the laughter and chatter swirl around me, my steps deliberate and steady. I'm not here to fight. Not yet. I'm here to make them see, not with my words, but with my actions. My silence will speak for me. I find a quiet corner, where I can be alone with my thoughts. I look at the crowd, my family, these people who have always treated me like I don't exist, like I'm not even worth noticing. I think about all the years I spent trying to fit in, trying to make them see me, trying to get their approval. But the truth is, I've been invisible for so long that I've forgotten what it feels like to be truly seen. Every time my mother ignored me, every time I was told I was too much or too little, it pushed me further into the shadows. But now, the shadows no longer scare me. I'm learning to stand in the quiet, to find strength in the stillness. Silence isn't weakness. It's a strategy, a choice I'm making. The calm washes over me, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel the need to scream, to shout, to make them listen. I'm reclaiming my space in my own way, on my own terms. I don't need their approval anymore. I think about the past, the years of emotional neglect, the moments where I stood in the background, hoping for someone to notice. But now, I see it clearly. The silence wasn't my weakness. It was my shield. It was the only thing I had left to protect me from the pain of rejection. And now, it's the weapon I'll use to fight back. The silence isn't deafening. It's liberating. I pull out my phone again, looking at the picture I took earlier. This time, there's no anger. No frustration. Just a quiet reminder of how far I've come. This moment, the one where I've taken back my power without uttering a single word, it's mine. And no one can take it away. I walk back into the main room, my steps measured, my mind clear. I've been silent for so long, but that ends now. I've made my choice. The time to confront Ramsey, my family, is coming. But this time, I will do it on my terms. I pause by the door, taking a deep breath. This isn't just another family gathering. This is a turning point. I've been silent for too long. Now, it's my turn to speak. As I step into the main hall, my phone buzzes. I glance at the screen. It's a message from my lawyer. We're ready. It's time to make it official. I let the words sink in. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. The moment I take control of my life. And as I walk out of the room, I know there's no going back. The party is in full swing, laughter and chatter echoing throughout the grand hall. Yet, despite the noise, it feels as though I'm standing in a vacuum, removed from everything and everyone. The heavy weight of exclusion settles around me like a thick, suffocating fog. I arrive at the venue, already dreading what I know is coming. My shoes click on the polished floor as I make my way through the crowd, scanning for a familiar face. But what I find is nothing more than an empty seat at the table, where I should have been. I glance at the seating chart, hoping I missed something. Maybe the person in charge made an error, I think to myself. But no. My name is absent. There's no place for me. I wasn't even worth a seat at the table. I linger for a moment, my hand hovering over the chart, feeling the sting of the reality settling in. The years of emotional neglect, the constant feeling of being left out, all of it has culminated in this one silent moment. There's no hiding from it now. This is my truth, I don't belong here. Not really. A guest's voice pulls me out of my thoughts, cutting through the haze of hurt. Why isn't Arden's name on the seating chart? The question hangs in the air, and for a second, I feel the entire room's attention shift toward me. The question is innocent, but its implications are anything but. It's a reminder, a loud, painful reminder that I am the forgotten one, the outsider, the one no one bothers to notice. I don't respond. I don't want to create a scene, not yet. Not here. Instead, I stand in silence, letting the weight of their indifference press against me. The question alone is enough. It speaks volumes. Lydia, my mother, steps in before I can say a word. With a calmness that makes my stomach churn, she addresses the guest, as if the matter is trivial. She'll be in the kitchen. No need for a seat. The words hit harder than anything else could. The mother I've always longed for, the one I tried so hard to please, has just confirmed what I've feared all along. I'm nothing more than a servant in this family. Not even a daughter anymore. She'll be in the kitchen, she's always there. Her dismissive tone slices through the air. It's as if she's already written me off, as though the years of caring for everyone else have meant nothing. I smile weakly, nodding as if it doesn't hurt. But inside, my chest tightens with a quiet rage. This is it. The last time. I'll no longer be relegated to the background. I walk away, the anger bubbling up inside me like a slow, simmering storm. The voices around me blur as I move through the crowd, hearing but not listening. People smile, laugh, but it feels like a distant echo. The sting of exclusion is real, but it's not new. What's new is the quiet fury inside me, growing stronger with every step I take. I find a seat at the back of the room, away from the chaos. I don't want to mingle. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. The party continues without me, but I'm no longer the person fighting to be noticed. I am here. But I will no longer beg for a place at the table. The silence is deafening in a way, yet liberating. I realize, in this moment, that my silence isn't just about being unseen. It's a quiet rebellion. I've been waiting for someone to see me, to recognize my worth. But I don't need their validation anymore. I've spent so long fighting for a seat at the table. Now, I refuse to beg for it. I sit back, allowing myself a deep breath. A small moment of peace amidst the noise. I'm not invisible. I'm just choosing to be silent. And in that silence, I feel more powerful than I ever have. Sitting there, alone in the corner, I reflect on everything that led me here. The years of silencing my own needs, the times I put everyone else first, and all the ways I've allowed myself to be swallowed up by this family's demands. But now, for the first time, I see clearly, I don't need their approval to matter. I've been giving them all the pieces of me, and for what? To be overlooked, to be diminished? It's time to take them back. I stand up, pushing the chair back with a sharp noise that cuts through the hum of the party. My body feels light, as though a weight has been lifted from my chest. I walk towards the door, making my way through the crowd without a word. No one notices. No one cares. But that's okay. I'm not here to please them anymore. As I reach the door, I grab my coat. The chill of the evening air wraps around me like a cloak, and for the first time tonight, I feel a sense of freedom. The house, the party, the expectations, they're all behind me now. I'm not doing this anymore. I walk out of the house, closing the door softly behind me. This is my exit. The first step of many. As I make my way to the car, my phone buzzes. I pull it from my pocket and glance at the screen. The message is brief but enough to send a ripple of determination through me. It's time. We're ready. The wheels of change are in motion, and I'm finally taking control of my life. I get into the car, my hands gripping the wheel. There's no turning back now. The dinner was always the same, loud, filled with laughter that felt foreign, and the undercurrent of expectations. I'd been the dutiful daughter for so long, always in the background, always serving, always the one who never asked for more. But tonight was different. I was no longer willing to be invisible, not in this family, not anymore. I had made my decision earlier that day. I wasn't attending the family dinner. It had been so simple, so quiet in my mind, as though a door had finally opened. For once, I wasn't going to subject myself to being the servant behind the scenes. I booked a table for one at a cafe downtown. It was just a small thing, but for me, it was a revolution. For the first time in years, I chose me. I pulled on my coat and left the house, not saying a word to anyone. No more pretending. No more fitting into the role that had been carved out for me since childhood. I didn't need their approval, their gratitude, or their constant demands. As I sat down in the cafe, the peace around me was almost overwhelming. It was the first time I had felt something close to freedom in years. I opened my book, losing myself in the pages, but all the while, a part of me was still aware of the act I had just committed. It was a rebellion, though small, yet it held a weight I hadn't expected. The next morning, the family meeting was inevitable. They expected me to show up, to take on the chores, to fulfill the duties that had always been my role. But I was no longer that person. When the call came, I let it ring. I wasn't going to pick up. Not anymore. I had never stood up for myself before. I had always bent and yielded, never questioning my role. But this time, I was different. This time, I was going to say no. When I arrived at the meeting, they expected me to jump right into action, just like I always had. But today, I didn't. I stood back. When asked to help with the preparation, I simply shook my head. I'm done being the one who sacrifices for everyone else. I have my own life to live. The room fell silent. It was the first time they'd heard me speak like that. I felt their eyes on me, the shock and confusion hanging in the air. But I wasn't scared. I walked away, my heels clicking sharply on the floor, leaving behind their murmurs of disbelief. There was something empowering in that silence. My silence was no longer submissive, it was a statement. Later that day, when I thought the world around me would feel more suffocating, something surprising happened. An unexpected message appeared on my phone. It was from Aunt Claire. You've been so strong for so long, but now it's time to be strong for yourself. For the first time in my life, someone in this family had recognized my pain. Someone had seen past the facade of dutiful daughter and noticed the cracks in my armor. Aunt Claire had always been silent, a neutral observer in the background, never speaking up, never interfering. But today, she had taken the time to send me a message. Her words were like a breath of fresh air, something I had been waiting for, not just from her, but from everyone. The validation I didn't know I needed gave me the strength to keep going. It was time to stop waiting for someone else to fight my battles. By the time I reached my lawyer's office later that week, I knew what I had to do. I was no longer afraid. The decision to stand up for myself had already been made, and now it was time to take the next step. I had always been afraid of what would happen if I left the family business, if I stepped away from the life they had molded for me. But I couldn't live in their shadows anymore. It's time to make them see that I won't be silenced or dismissed anymore, I told the lawyer as I sat across from him, my hands steady. He nodded, understanding the weight of my words. We went over the details of what legal action I could take to break free from their grasp. As he laid out the options, a sense of urgency began to fill me. This was no longer just about asserting myself, it was about reclaiming my life. That night, as I stood in front of the mirror, I saw someone I barely recognized. The woman who had always been afraid of disappointing her family, the one who constantly bent to their will, was no longer there. In her place stood someone strong. Someone ready to make her own way. I grabbed my phone and called my father's voicemail. Dad, this is Arden. I'm stepping away from the family business. I need to take control of my own future. I'm not doing this anymore. The finality in my voice surprised me. This wasn't just a message, it was a declaration. As I stepped out of my house that evening, my phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. The next steps were clear, and as I read the text, a mix of excitement and nervousness churned in my stomach. This was real. The wheels of change were set in motion. I slid into my car and started the engine. The road ahead felt uncertain, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what was to come. The call came just as I was starting to feel like I might actually be free, like I was finally on the verge of something that didn't involve them. It was Lydia, of course. My mother. I could hear her voice on the other end of the line, that tone she always used when she wanted something from me, a mix of anger and disappointment. You think you can just walk away from everything we've built? You're not the only one who sacrificed, Arden, she spat. I could feel the weight of her words like a physical blow. I didn't say anything. I didn't even respond. I just hung up the phone, my fingers trembling as I placed it back on the table. I felt the weight of her words sink into me, and I knew she wasn't going to give up without a fight. But I also knew one thing for certain, I wasn't going back. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore, not after everything I had sacrificed. It didn't take long for the consequences to start showing up. The first came in the form of a letter. It was from Lydia's lawyer, but I knew exactly what it was, a legal warning. The family business, my share in it, was under threat. You think you can walk away with no consequences? Think again, the letter read. I sat on the couch for a long time, staring at those words, feeling my stomach drop. I had never felt so small, so powerless. They were trying to take everything I had worked for. But I wasn't going to let them win. I was determined to see this through, no matter what they threw at me. I called Mason, my lawyer, and set up an appointment. I needed to know what my options were, what kind of fight I was walking into. When I met with him, he confirmed what I already feared, it wasn't going to be easy. But it was possible. I had a case, even though it would be tough to take on my own family. The realization hit me then, I wasn't just fighting for freedom anymore. I was fighting for everything that had been taken from me, everything they had stolen from me over the years. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying my childhood in my head, all the moments where I had been ignored, overlooked, used. The pain of all those years of being invisible hit me harder than it ever had before. But there was something else there, too, something new. Clarity. I wasn't just fighting for revenge. I was fighting for something more. I was fighting for my own worth. I wasn't alone in this fight, though. Willa came over to check on me that night. She had always been there, standing in the shadows, watching, but never speaking up. Until now. You can do this, Arden. You don't have to carry all of this by yourself, she said, her voice soft, but firm. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest. For the first time in my life, someone in my family, someone who had seen everything I had been through, was standing beside me, not against me. The next day, I overheard a conversation between Derek and Sabrina. They didn't know I was listening, but I could hear them talking about how to punish me for walking away from the family business. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. If she thinks she can just walk away from all this, she's wrong. We'll make sure she understands where her loyalty lies, Derek said, his voice thick with anger. My heart raced, but there was a calmness inside me now. A quiet resolve that I hadn't felt before. I wasn't just angry anymore. I wasn't just fighting for my place at the table. I was fighting to take control of my life again. I was ready. Whatever it took, I was going to stand my ground. No more letting them call the shots. No more letting them treat me like I was nothing. Later that afternoon, Mason called me. There was something in his voice that made my heart skip a beat. Arden, I've got some news. Your family has been hiding financial transactions from you for years. They've been siphoning money from your share of the business, he said. The words hit me like a wave, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. The betrayal was deeper than I had ever imagined. They had been taking what was mine, what I had worked for, without me even knowing it. But now I had the upper hand. I had something they didn't expect me to have, the truth. Your family's been playing a game you didn't even know you were a part of. It's time to expose them, Mason continued. And just like that, I felt a surge of power. This wasn't just about my freedom anymore. It was about justice. About taking back what was mine. About making them pay for everything they had done to me. I stood in front of the mirror that evening, staring at my reflection. For the first time in my life, I wasn't looking at someone who was afraid of her family's judgment. I was looking at someone who was ready to fight for herself. Someone who had nothing left to lose. I grabbed my phone and dialed my father's number, leaving a voicemail. Dad, this is Arden. I'm stepping away from the family business. I need to take control of my own future. I'm not doing this anymore. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but it was also the most freeing. I wasn't going to be the person they expected me to be anymore. I was going to be me. As I drove away from my house that night, my phone buzzed. It was Mason, confirming our next steps. The fight had just begun. But this time, I was ready. I could feel it in my bones, the moment of truth had arrived. Everything I had done up until now, all the struggles, the small acts of defiance, had led to this. The final showdown was here, and the outcome would determine whether I would continue to be a prisoner of my family's expectations or finally break free for good. The week leading up to this had been one of the most intense of my life. Mason, my lawyer, had gathered all the evidence. Financial records, private communications, contracts, proof of the long-standing manipulation my family had put me through. Today, I was going to take it all to the family. I was done hiding, done being their scapegoat. It was time for them to see who I really was, and who they were, too. The day before the confrontation, I met with Mason in his office. He handed me the final stack of papers, the pieces of the puzzle I had spent so long piecing together. This is it, Arden. We're about to turn the tables for good, he said, his voice steady but tinged with excitement. I took a deep breath. The weight of everything we had uncovered sat heavily on my shoulders. For so long, I had played the part of the dutiful daughter, the one who did what she was told, kept quiet, and never questioned the family's rules. But now I was holding the truth in my hands. I wasn't just fighting for my freedom anymore. I was fighting for justice. I left Mason's office, my heart pounding in my chest. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment where I no longer had to hide or apologize for wanting to live life on my own terms. The family meeting was set for the next day. I walked into the room, my pulse racing. There they were, Lydia, Charles, and the rest of the family, seated around the table, waiting for me. "You really thought you could outsmart us?" Charles sneered, his voice full of contempt. "You're nothing without this family." I stood there, facing them all, refusing to back down. The words they threw at me didn't have the same power anymore. The guilt, the shame, they weren't mine to carry anymore. Lydia crossed her arms, looking at me with a mixture of anger and disappointment. "You've ruined everything," she said coldly. "You're just like your father. Always looking out for yourself." I didn't flinch. I didn't back away. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out the evidence. Financial records, emails, documents, the proof that they had been siphoning money from my share of the business, manipulating me, keeping me in the dark for years. "You've used me. You've manipulated me. And you've stolen from me," I said, my voice steady and strong. "That ends now." Lydia's face went pale. Charles's jaw tightened as he looked at the documents in front of him. I could see the realization hit them. This wasn't just a rebellion. This was war. As the confrontation continued, the truth started to unravel. Lydia tried to defend herself, but the evidence was irrefutable. Every lie, every manipulation, was exposed for what it was. Charles, who had always been the mastermind behind their schemes, began to unravel. I could see the cracks in their facade, the fear and desperation creeping in. "You've been playing a game I didn't even know I was a part of," I said. "But it's over now. I won't let you control me anymore." They were silent. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being silenced. I wasn't the one who had to apologize or beg for approval. As I left the meeting, I felt the weight of the past lift from my shoulders. But the consequences of my actions were just beginning. My family's reputation was crumbling. Word of the lawsuit had already spread, and the media was starting to pick up the story. The family that had once been untouchable was now in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. There was a bittersweet relief in knowing that I had finally exposed them. But there was also a deep sadness that lingered. This wasn't the family I had hoped for, the one I had spent my whole life trying to earn the approval of. I sat alone in my apartment that night, the silence around me a sharp contrast to the chaos of the day. Then, my phone buzzed. It was Willa. "You did the right thing. You chose yourself," she texted. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. I had Willa. And I had me. The next day, the final blow came. Mason called me with news that I hadn't expected. The lawsuit was moving forward, and the settlement from the family business was being finalized. I was going to be free, financially and emotionally. I could finally start building a life that was truly mine. "I'm not just surviving anymore," I whispered to myself as I looked at my reflection in the mirror. "I'm living." But as I prepared to step into the future, a final message came through. It was from my family. They weren't finished with me yet. Their retaliation was just beginning. But I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. I was ready. The sound of the final document being signed echoed through my mind. For the first time in years, I felt like the chains that had bound me for so long were finally breaking. With every click of the pen, I was signing away not just my family's control, but the part of me that had been willing to accept their version of my life. Now, I was ready to build a future on my terms. Mason's office was still. The weight of the papers in front of me was almost too much to bear. "You're no longer a prisoner, Arden. You're free to choose who you want to become," Mason had said, his words ringing true. And they did, even now. But what was next? I didn't know. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of finding out. As I walked out of Mason's office, the crisp autumn air hit me, sharp and refreshing. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe. But as I checked my phone, I saw a message from Lonnie. Lonnie Pierce had always been in the background, a distant friend, someone I never fully leaned on. But there, in that moment, the message she sent changed everything. "You're not alone anymore, Arden. Let me help you build what you deserve." She offered me a partnership. A chance to take the steps I needed to build something independent, something outside the shadow of my family. I had nothing to lose anymore. And maybe, just maybe, I had found someone who believed in me. I met Lonnie the next day. Her presence was a breath of fresh air, calming in a way I didn't realize I needed. She had always been there, in the background, but now she was offering me a lifeline. "I've been watching you, Arden. You've been fighting for so long, and now it's time to fight for what you truly want," she said. Her words didn't feel empty. They felt real. Lonnie had a vision where I wasn't just a survivor, but a creator. A vision where I was in control of my future. I wasn't sure what was ahead, but I had never felt more ready to face it. "I'm in," I said. It was a simple word, but it was the first time I truly meant it. But just as things were starting to look up, I received some news that threatened to undo everything. A major media outlet was about to run a story about my family. The last thing I wanted was for my name to be dragged back into the headlines. But it wasn't just a story. It was a scandal. My heart sank as I read the details. It wasn't just about my family's shady business deals anymore. This was about me too. My name would be dragged through the mud, and all the progress I had made could be erased with one news cycle. I thought I was done with this, I muttered to myself. But it's not over yet. I knew I couldn't let this slide. I had to take control of the narrative, and I couldn't wait for anyone to hand me that power. The betrayal came next. The phone call caught me off guard. A close confidant, someone I had trusted, had leaked sensitive information about my legal proceedings to the press. It was the final blow. Someone who knew me, who I thought had my back, had chosen the side of my family. The anger was instant, but it was quickly replaced by a deep sadness. I had trusted this person, let them in when I was vulnerable. And now they had taken that trust and turned it into a weapon. "I gave you everything, and you betrayed me. You've taken away my peace," I said, staring at my phone. I couldn't look at it anymore, so I put it down. I didn't have time for this. Not anymore. The next few days were a blur. I had to face the media, face the consequences of my family's actions, and find a way to control the chaos. The public eye was already on me, and now it was time to step into the light, not as a victim, but as someone who would define her own story. I addressed the press head-on. I wasn't going to hide anymore. I wasn't going to let them control the narrative. "You don't own my story anymore." "I do," I said to the cameras, the words firm and final. For the first time, I felt like I was in control of everything, my future, my story, my destiny. But just as things started to settle, a message popped up on my phone. It was anonymous, and it made my stomach drop. Your family isn't done with you. There's more to this than you realize. The message sent a chill down my spine. I had won the battle, but the war? That was far from over. And as I prepared to announce my new business venture, I realized that I was still on the precipice of something much larger. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. Arden stood in front of her family's estate, the heavy weight of the years spent in this cage bearing down on her. Today, she would finish what she had started. No more manipulation. No more control. The lies that had defined her past were finally about to be exposed, and she was no longer afraid. The decision she had made to confront her past felt final, like the snap of a branch breaking. There was no going back now. Not after everything she had learned about the way her family had held her captive, pulling the strings, keeping her bound by their expectations and greed. But now, she had the power to change it all. Her phone buzzed as she made her way toward the front door. It was Mason, her lawyer, with the final piece of the puzzle she needed. Arden, I've got the evidence. We've got everything we need. It's time. Her breath caught in her chest. It was happening. After all this time, all the battles she'd fought, this was the moment that would define everything. I'm ready, she said quietly, the weight of her words sinking in as she hung up. But the quiet feeling of relief didn't last. There was something darker waiting, lurking just beyond the horizon. Inside the mansion, everything felt eerily calm. Arden's mother, Lydia, and her estranged brother Derek were waiting for her. The tension was thick, hanging in the air like smoke. As she walked into the grand living room, Lydia's cold, calculating gaze met hers. Derek stood by her side, his arms crossed, a smug smile on his face that didn't reach his eyes. You think you've won, don't you? Lydia's voice cut through the silence. Her tone was calm, but it held a venomous edge. Arden held her ground. I'm not the one who's been manipulating anyone, Lydia. Lydia's lips curled into a smile that wasn't kind. You always think you know better. You think you can control your own life now? Her words dripped with condescension. You're still just a child in my eyes, and you'll always be tied to this family, whether you like it or not. Arden stood taller, letting the words roll off her like water. She had come prepared for this moment. No more would she shrink in the face of their manipulation. I'm done being your pawn. I know about the will, Lydia, Arden said, her voice low but firm. You can't hide from the truth anymore. I've seen the documents. Lydia's face went pale, her composure cracking for the first time. Derek, on the other hand, seemed to shrink into himself, as if he had been caught in a lie. You think this changes everything? Derek sneered. You've always been a disappointment. And you always will be. But Arden didn't flinch. She raised her chin, showing them a strength they had never seen from her before. This is no longer about me trying to escape your control, Arden said, her voice steady. It's about me taking back what's mine. She laid out the evidence before them, financial records, secret deals, and documents that painted their legacy in the most sinister light. As she spoke, she could see the horror in their eyes, the realization that their carefully constructed world was crumbling. I've always been the one to clean up after your mess, Arden continued. But no more. I'm not your servant. I'm not your puppet. The air in the room shifted, thick with disbelief and shame. Lydia opened her mouth to speak, but the words faltered. Derek, the ever-defiant one, couldn't hold the facade any longer. His anger spilled over. You think you can walk away from everything we've built? He roared. You're nothing without us. You're nothing without the family. You don't even know what you're up against." Arden's heart raced, but she held his gaze without fear. "What you built was a prison. I don't need it anymore. And I don't need you." As she stepped out of the house, her heart was still pounding, but this time, it was not from fear. It was from the exhilaration of freedom. She had done it. The final chapter in her family's hold over her life had been written, and she was now free. But even as she walked away from the mansion, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the fight was far from over. There was more to this, something deeper, more dangerous, that she had yet to uncover. Later that evening, Arden sat down with Mason, reviewing the legal steps they would take next. She had reclaimed her independence, but her family wasn't done with her yet. "I've received a tip," Mason said, his expression grim. "Someone's still pulling strings behind the scenes." Arden felt her stomach drop. The weight of everything that had happened settled heavily on her shoulders. "Who?" she asked, though she had a sinking feeling she already knew. Mason slid an envelope across the table to her. "It's from someone close to your father's business. The betrayal runs deeper than we thought." Arden's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. The documents inside outlined a conspiracy that went beyond her immediate family. Someone had been controlling the narrative all along, someone she never expected. "Whoever this is, they're not done. And neither are you," Mason added. The final test was ahead. Arden knew this wouldn't be over until every last thread was unraveled. As she left Mason's office that night, her phone buzzed with a message from Willa. "You've done the right thing, Arden. You're stronger than you think." For the first time in years, Arden felt the weight of the world finally lifting. But even in this moment of victory, she knew the true battle was only just beginning. Arden stood by the window, staring at the skyline as the sunlight filtered through the glass, casting long shadows across her room. The city outside was bustling with life, but inside, she felt the stillness of finality. For the first time in years, she wasn't just drifting, she was standing on the threshold of something new. But that didn't make the decision any easier. The letter she held in her hand, written in her mother's familiar, forceful handwriting, felt heavier than it should have. It was a final attempt to reel her back into the web that had trapped her for most of her life. She had thought she was done with them. Done with the manipulation, the control, the suffocating expectations. But this letter, this last plea from Lydia, threw her into a turmoil she hadn't expected. Arden's fingers trembled slightly as she opened it, feeling the pull of the past once more. The words blurred in front of her eyes as memories of childhood, of yearning for her mother's love, of striving for approval that never came, rushed back. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I couldn't let you go. You belong with us," the letter read, its words a calculated mix of apology and subtle coercion. Her chest tightened. How many times had her mother used these very words? She could feel Lydia's presence in the room, even though she wasn't there. The familiar pull. The guilt. The need to please. Arden's breath hitched, the past threatening to swallow her whole. But this time, she wasn't the child yearning for affection. This time, she was a woman who had fought for her freedom, fought for the right to choose her own path. And that path, no matter how painful, was a life free of her family's control. Without another word, she tore the letter in half, feeling a surge of finality as the paper split. There was no going back. Not anymore. Hours later, the knock on her door was unexpected. When Arden opened it, her brother Derek and his wife Sabrina stood there, their faces a mixture of concern and authority. "Arden," Derek began, his voice the one that always tried to sound reasonable but carried an undercurrent of control. "We need to talk." Sabrina, ever the manipulator, smiled with a false kindness that sent a wave of disgust through Arden. "We're worried about you," Derek continued, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. This whole thing, this battle against the family, it's unnecessary. You've made your point. It's time to come back. We'll fix things, make it right. Arden's heart raced with the familiar weight of their manipulation, the subtle threat they always wielded. But this time, it didn't work. She wasn't the same person anymore. Fix things? Arden's voice was steady, but beneath the calm exterior, her anger simmered. You think this is something that can be fixed with a few words? I'm done being part of your game, Derek. This is not about fixing anything. It's about me taking control of my life. Sabrina crossed her arms, her expression shifting from concern to something darker. You think you've won, don't you? She sneered. You've only just begun to understand how deep this runs. Your resistance isn't without consequences. Arden's blood ran cold, but her resolve hardened. Consequences? She said, her voice low. You've made your consequences. I don't need your threats anymore. Without another word, Arden walked away, leaving them standing there in her hallway, stunned by her defiance. Later, sitting with Mason, her lawyer, Arden couldn't help but feel a weight lift as they reviewed the final pieces of her legal battle. The settlements, the papers, the evidence, it was all coming to an end. You've done it, Arden, Mason said, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. You've secured your independence. You've faced everything, and now it's yours to build. Arden nodded, her fingers drumming lightly on the table. She hadn't fully grasped how far she'd come until this very moment. Every piece of her life, every decision, every fight, it had led her here. But then, just as she thought it was over, Mason pulled out another document, the last piece of the puzzle. There's one more thing, Mason said, handing it to her. This document secures the final break from your family. It's the last step. Arden stared at it for a moment, the weight of the decision settling on her. She had come so far, but this final act of severing all ties felt like stepping off a cliff. She could feel the air rush in, the finality of it all. I'm done, she said, signing the document with a firm hand. No more looking back. The knock on the door came at dusk, and when Arden opened it, she was greeted by her niece, Willa, holding something in her hands. I have something for you, Willa said, her voice soft but filled with conviction. She handed Arden a small framed piece of art, a phoenix rising from the ashes. It's for you, Willa continued. A new beginning. Because that's what you are. Stronger than you were before. Arden's heart swelled with emotion. She hadn't expected this, but she knew, in that moment, that this small gesture meant everything. Willa had seen her, truly seen her, for the first time. Arden held the picture, a tear slipping down her cheek. For the first time in years, it wasn't a tear of loss, but one of release. This is who I am now, Arden whispered. Willa smiled, nodding as if she knew. Later that night, as Arden prepared to make her final decision, her phone buzzed. The number on the screen made her heart skip. She hesitated, then answered. Arden, it's me. Your mother, Lydia's voice crackled over the line. I want to resolve this. There's a final offer. Come back to the family. You're not meant to be alone. The temptation to listen was there, deep in her gut. But Arden's resolve had never been stronger. I've fought long enough, she said, her voice steady. The past is gone. My future is all that matters. She silenced the phone, then turned her back on them, for the last time. As Arden walked out into the night, a package arrived on her doorstep. She stared at it for a moment before picking it up, already knowing what it was, a final warning from her family. The last thread of control they tried to keep on her. But she wasn't going back. With a deep breath, Arden set the package aside. Her future was no longer defined by them. She had crossed the threshold into her new life. The game wasn't over. But this time, she was the one in control.